Welcome back to Queen's Mindset. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are super excited to have you here with us. Listen, this is season 6 of Battered Bruised, Not Broken, and it keeps getting better. I can't wait to introduce to you tonight our guest. That is Dr. Linda. Listen to me. She has a powerful story to tell. But before we introduce her to you, if you have not done this yet, to go right ahead, just hit that subscribe button just down below and make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. And if you have a friend, invite them on over. So let's head into it. Welcome, Dr. Linda. How are you?
Thank you. Well, I am doing well. Thank you. And thank
Good. Awesome. So I know they're sitting at the edge of their seats and they're waiting to hear what is your story. I have to ask you tonight. Before we start with your story, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
uh, who I am, I'm a mother, wife, a minister, ordained minister. I create courses online. I have an online global ministry where I minister to women who are ready to be equipped in life and ministry. I have courses that can walk them through a whole system that they can come in to receive hope and healing, be equipped, be restored to serve. Because the idea is to equip and empower women so that they can, in the end, be restored so that they can serve. Because there's so many broken women, or we run into them every day. We ourselves were broken and wounded. Yeah, and out of that, we are doing what we are doing today, ministering to women at that capacity. So that's basically it in a nutshell what I do. I'm an author as well as speaker, entrepreneur, and all the other stuff that goes with it. My life
Wow.
is full.
Indeed, it is. Where do you find the time?
Well, the good thing is that I don't have any babies anymore. So my daughter is all grown. She's 31 years old. So it's just my husband and I, it's big empty nest. And so I get the time to do those things. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. So you have a story, and we are here to hear your story tonight. But before we get into it, I want you to start from the beginning and tell us a little bit about where it all started for you.
Wow. My story is so intricate. But I was born in Trinidad, um, and we lived in an area that at that time I did not know was high crime. It was a red light district. You grow up in the area, you don't know. So, but as I grew older, I realized that I was in the city in Trinidad, Port of Spain, high crime area, red light district. There was always fights and shootings and on and on and on. So that was my external environment. My internal environment, when I say that, I mean my home, was as bad as the streets because I lived in a violent environment. My father was a drunk. And well, we don't say that anymore. We say alcoholic. And so every week that God sent, he came home drunk on Friday nights, Friday evenings. He'd come home after he got paid because he got paid every week when he got home. Even if there was nothing to fight about, he found something to fight about. If it was the food, he didn't like the curry, he didn't like and it always inevitably ended up with a brawl. And she was a very feisty woman, and so she fought back. So here I am at 7 and 8, or in that age group with my twin brothers, and in the midst of my father, who had no respect for us. You think he would try, and they would be fighting, and it was horrific because I developed deep fear and panic attacks over it way into my adult life. And to top that off, my mother was extremely angry, and I became the recipient of her anger. So it was always, if it wasn't fighting, but the two of them was fighting with her and I because I was as feisty myself as a young child. And so I got a lot of lickings and a lot of punishments and a lot of words that just shredded my sense of self-esteem, literally shredded. And I remember growing up and not feeling like I was anything. I wasn't worthy of anything. Well, if my mother said so and so about me, then surely she is the one who knows. So I must be what she said, you know. I remember one time she saying to me, I wish I knew what kind of child you were, that when you were coming out, meaning when she was birthing me, I would have squeezed my legs together and broken your neck. So, yeah. So it was that kind of stuff. And with the hatred that she had towards my father, it came out on me. I looked like her. This is what she would say. You look like me, but you have all your father stinking ways. So I was, and what made it worse is that I was his quote unquote favorite child of the three of us. And that didn't go over well. So it was constant. I lived in a constant embattled environment. So that's my childhood in Trinidad. And of course, he's still beating her. So eventually she decided that she's going to escape. So she parceled us off. I went to my godmother and she left my brothers with him. And in the, well, I'm knowing this after the fact, that she got on a plane and left us. I never found out till weeks later that she left because I was with my godmother, which was not unusual because when summertime came along, you went by your godmother to spend time, you know, which I loved. And after, I probably would spend the whole summer with her or most of it. So one day, friends came home by her and they said to me, we just came from the airport from seeing your mother off. And I went, off? Where? I was now in my preteen, just a little bit before my preteen, yeah. And I'm going, off where? And she left the island. She's gone. Don't know where she's gone. I have no address. I have no point of reference, anything. Anyhow, I started to communicate with her, but I was not allowed to the address was kept from me. So I had to write the letter and then give it to my godmother who would mail it. They never gave me her address. And for good reasons for them is because my father would meet me and he would ask me, where's your mother? Because he figured I knew. And because of our closeness, he felt that, you know, I'll tell him, but I couldn't tell him. Didn't know. And maybe just as well because I might have felt sorry for him and told him because he used to cry. And no, this is a man that used to beat the crap out of her. Now she left him. He would be meeting me at school or outside the train station because I went to school in the city, but lived a little bit away. So we had a train then and he'd meet me at the train station and he'd always be crying. So it's just as well they didn't tell me because my heart was breaking for this man, you know? So it was a lot of rejection and abandonment that I just lived with on and on and on, you know. Um, his story is well documented in my book, Soul Survivor. But so that was, in a nutshell, my childhood in Trinidad. Eventually, my mother came back to Trinidad, but it was to collect us. By that time, my father had a living woman and she was kind of taking care of my brothers, not really taking care of them because they weren't her children. But she gathered us up and took us to Canada. Actually, the 1st of March is going to be one of the anniversary of when we went up to Canada. And we started a new life, but we just picked up where we left off with the fights. We fought like cats and dogs. By that time, I was an angry young lady, very, very angry, and angry and bitter against her because the words from her mouth were just horrific. You know, called me names, tell me you're this, you're that, you're other, because I was where she can land her pain. But interestingly, when we moved to Canada, the 1st of March, near the end of March, she packed up and left us. And she going, and she moved to the United States and left me as a how old I was. I think I was 16. Left me with my two brothers to take care of them, and she moved to the States. Now, you see, I was a bright young girl, and I was way ahead and mature. So I knew how to take care of house, I knew how to wash, I knew how to clean, I knew how to shop, I knew how to budget. And so what she did was she would send the money and I will take care of the house. I'll buy the food, I'll pay the bills and do everything. She'd sign a check book full of checks, and then I'd use those to pay the bills, the bills that needed to be paid then. So here I was in Canada in a culture I knew nothing of, all alone with two young, they were 1 year younger than me. And as they started to grow older in their teens, now I'm 16, they're 15, I'm 17. They don't want to listen to a sister anymore, right? They don't want, you can't tell me what to do. That was good when we were small, but not now. And so I had that hassle and that constant, back and forth with my mother. And I begged her, I said, please come. I can't handle my brothers anymore. I wasn't handling my own life very well. I was working a good job. I had a bank job, but I was crazy, crazy, crazy. I had no boundaries. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I'm just, I'm just a teenager. I didn't have a teenage life. What was that? I was taking care of my brothers from the time she left, I had to take care, the first time she left, I had to take care of them because my father's wife would not wash their clothes or iron for them. So I would have to trips down to the city every week, collect their dirty clothes and exchange them for clean clothes. So I was like a laundromat, a laundromat. So I was taking care of them remotely, but then when she moved to the States, I was taking care of them physically. And that was horrific. And my life was out of control. It's only God that I didn't do crazy things. I mean, all kinds of crazy things happened, including one of her old boyfriends came to visit us and started to take advantage of me as well. So it
Oh,
was a
wow.
really crazy, crazy time. Begged her to come home. She eventually came home, but came back from the States and came back to Canada with us. And then the fight started. The only thing we didn't do was have a physical fight, but it was just so horrific. And in order to get away from her, I married the first thing that came along. So I went from the frying pan into the fire. So usually what happens to women like us is that we duplicate or we replicate what we saw, what the environment I was used to, fighting and quarreling and infidelity. I ran into this church man, and well, he wasn't church on yet, but became churched. And he just replicated what I grew up in, madness. And that life with him was extremely horrific. Didn't last long, but it was horrific. So
Wow, wow, wow. Let's take a pin right here because that's a lot for us to begin to unpack. Like, I mean, wow, wow, that's a lot. So you're 16 years old. Left, I mean, from a land that was familiar to a foreign land. You're not sure
absolutely.
the ins and outs, and
No, no,
you don't
yeah,
know a lot of
nothing.
things, and you're now having to, not only do you have to learn the ins and outs, but now you have an added responsibility in such a short space of time. You didn't give it time to manage. How were you able to manage that whole process? I know you said it was really hard, having to deal with them because obviously they got older now. But the fact that they were older now and you were just a year apart, they didn't want to hear or listen to you or stuff. So what were some of the things that you had to do to be able to help manage, or was there anything at all that you could have done to help manage that whole situation until your
You mean
mom?
manage them?
Yes, manage them, deal with the home, because I believe that obviously they were still in school as well. So now all that stuff, how were you able to manage that?
I just did it. I can't even tell you how I did. I just did it. What happened, I had an aunt where she passed. Well, she didn't care too much for us, but my mother had a couple friends that will pop by to women friends, that is, that will pop by to see that we were okay kind of thing. But they encouraged me in all kinds of slackness just as well, because they were in the partying era. Mind you, my mother had me at 19, so her friends were all not too much older than me in a kind of way. And so they were a little crazy. So, but they came by to give emotional support, whatever that was, and just to see that we were okay. I managed because I managed. I just had to. I had no choice, and I did that in the physical way. I did that well. The house was kept, the food was bought, the bills were paid. But as far as the emotional part with my brothers, that was off the wall. And I myself was as crazy as a chicken running with a head cut off. So I couldn't control them. We just lived, we existed. And I believe it's only God that kept me and them sane.
Wow, 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 wow. So even during that time, because it's only you and your two brothers in the home, did anyone call childcare services? Did anyone recognize that you guys were left alone?
No, those things weren't in play. By mind you, I'm 17 going on, in that area, 16, 17. So I'm not necessarily considered a minor then. And even it did, nobody really looked, nobody cared. No, no, no. They didn't. We were in a house in the attic of a house. So yeah, when she brought us in, I could still see the steps that came up to the attic, which were kind of served as a kitchen, and then the living room. And just the three of us. So he didn't care as long as he got his rent. That's all. He didn't care. Nobody. I never even thought about. We could have been. She could have been brought up on stuff that we were minors really at the beginning, but that never happened. It was just us, and I continued working. Once my aunt, who had a job in the bank, was able to get me a job in the bank, and that's the one thing she did for us. I got a job, so I was working while they were supposed to be going to school, and that's a crazy thing all by itself. That's another program.
All right, so now you've gone through that, but now you said something happened because you wanted to get away from all the chaos and everything that was going on, that you made a decision very quickly and you decided to marry someone just to get away from everything that you were going through. So tell us a little bit about that and how that began to unfold for you.
Right. I can't remember where I met him, but he was relative to a pastor, right? The pastor was his cousin. And we started going out and everything. But one of the things, we'll party, but Sundays he'll take me to church, right? So we'll go to church. We one little storefront church, in downtown Toronto. And we went there every Sunday. I just look forward to going. It was just, and but we live our crazy lives, church, weren't saved. And then I got saved because I started realizing that the life I'm living is dead end. And if I don't do something, and I heard a testimony from a pastor that I remember here as he was speaking, I kept saying, Lord, if you can do it for him, surely you can do it for me. Because I used to walk the streets of Toronto thinking, I'm only 17, 18, and I'm thinking, if this is all life has to offer, I don't want it. So God, I used to talk to God as I walk in the street. If this is all that life has to offer, I don't want it. So suicide was already on my thoughts. At 18, I felt like I had lived a life already, and I surely didn't want any more of what I saw. So I used to say, if this is all that it has to offer, then I don't want this. So, and he heard my cry. One thing, I want to go back to my childhood. One thing, though, that was consistent with my mother, she made sure I go to church on Sunday. She didn't go, but she sent me to the Anglican church. And there in that going to church, walking, I don't know what my brothers did, but I remember going. And I remember the profound effect, tears running down my face. So already God had gotten a hold of my heart as a youngster. So moving now to Toronto, here I am with this boyfriend and going to church. And now it's totally different from what I usually went to as a child. But I knew there was something that they had that I didn't have. So I accepted the Lord. And he claimed he accepted the Lord. But my life was with him was anything but Christian. I mean, he did the unspeakable, 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 unspeakable. Now, we're going out. And I thought, well, I accepted the Lord and I can't take this anymore. We're not married yet. And I decide that's it. Breaking up with him, I don't need him anymore. I have the Lord and I got a job and I'm doing. He would call me at the bank every day and torture me. Torture me. I'm in the subway right now. If you don't come back, I'm gonna jump in front of a train. He made my life. He made my life a living hell. And I would sometimes burst into tears in the office. I'm in the bank, for God's sake. And he went on and on and on like that. And then that wasn't enough. He would call me at nights and threaten to kill himself if I didn't take him back. And the thing that broke it for me was he actually drank something. And I started screaming down the house because I'm home with my mother. And she said, let him kill his so-and-so self, by that, she had no. And of course, I couldn't do anything about it except call one a relative and say, go over and get him. They caught him, took him hospital, pump his chest, and they had him under observation. I don't know where he was, but he was, under watch. He checked himself out, and next thing he was at my front door. The pressure was so much, and mind you, the fighting with my mother hadn't gone anywhere. That was just escalating. And I thought, I have her on one hand, I have him on the other hand, professing now that he loves me and he's going to da, he's changed, he's going to do this. I can't take it anymore, so I made a decision to marry him. Well, Natalia, that was madness with capital letters. So, oh, it was just a nightmare. That's all I can tell you. But one good thing came out of it. My mother and I had a truce. Didn't say it was a truce. She decided that because I would go call her and tell her all the things I'm going through, I'll be crying and I'll be this and that, and we filed for divorce. And I got out of the relationship. A lot of stuff happening between there, and in a matter of time, I packed up my bags and moved to another province so I can start life all over. What I couldn't sell, I gave away. What I couldn't give away, I threw away. And what I didn't throw away, I kept. And I kept my favorite thing, which was my sewing machine. And I got on a train and traveled, was it 3 days on a train to another province? Far.
You
Far.
were not playing. You were not playing. So did he ever try to contact you when you decided, okay, we divorced, we done, I'm going this way? Did he still try to contact you?
Yeah, over time, that's before I left because he didn't know what. Over time, we tried to get back together and everything, but it was too horrific. This was a man who, after we got married and our apartment was where the reception was kept. He was living in the apartment. So it was a nice apartment and wasn't a big wedding. So it was where the reception was held. So it had them balloons and all the pretty things. And I kept them up after the wedding. And one day he came home and he said, you need to take everything down. And I thought, why? So I took it down and I'm going to bring some friends home. So I took the stuff down. And when he brought some friends from work, he brought them home. And he introduced me as his girlfriend. He was having a fling with somebody at work. And he didn't want them to know he was married. So take off the rings and take down all the balloons and everything. And silly me, I was out to lunch, like, duh. I mean, talking about naive.
Oh my goodness. I'm just speechless. I'm like, he did what now?
He did. He literally did. And
Wow.
brought friends home and, we entertained them and everything, talk and laugh. But I was his girlfriend that he was living with. I haven't even told you about what would happen at church and stuff like that. He would drive to church and leave me standing at the bus stop. We were going to the same church. He was the epitome of spirituality. Everybody thought he was a great man. And I would be at the bus stop, winter, spring, summer, or fall, and he would drive past me and go to church and catch the bus. Oh, the stories are just unspeakable.
And you guys were married all that time when he drove past you? And
And
then,
I would go to the pastors and tell them what happening, and they wouldn't believe me because he was so convincing. So I really lived under a lot of trauma. I'm surprised I'm not mad.
oh my goodness, God kept you. God kept
Kept
you.
me.
Oh,
He kept me.
indeed, he definitely did. So, ladies, if you're watching right now and this you can relate to this story that Dr. Linda is sharing here tonight, I want you to be reminded that God is still in the business of keeping you, right? He's still in the business because he has kept her. So now you've been through that phase with your ex-husband and everything. Did you guys ever had children together?
No,
Okay, well that's
thank
good.
God.
Okay, that's good then. That's good. So
When
now,
I made a pact with God, so this was like I told him what I would do, and as if I had children, so he saved me from myself.
thank God, thank God. So now you've
Mm.
gone far away from him because of everything. You've already divorced and everything. So tell us then how your life began to turn around and how things began to change for you when you got to that stage of life.
Well, I got to Canada on the invitation of a friend that I used to see while we were going to church, and he was saying, "You got to come to Alberta. It's great out here. It's booming. You got to come." And I'm staying by some folk, and when you come here, they'll be accommodating. They'll have a place for you and everything. And I thought on it long, and I prayed on it hard, and then finally I got a word from the Lord: leave your country, leave and go to this place. I'm going to show you clear as day. So, like I said, I packed up everything, gave away, sold, and took what threw everything. I took everything. My life was in a couple suitcases and boxes on a train. Very adventurous. As I said to my mother, I'm leaving. The pastor of the church I was attending that time, I went to him and I said to him, I'm moving to Alberta. If you know any pastors up there, you can give me their name. And sure enough, he did. And I kept their name, as so when I was ready to go to church, so I can the name and number so I can go. So he told me not to worry. When I get there, these people are going to meet me at the train station. That in the meantime, he had already moved out of Alberta and went somewhere else. But he convinced me that they will meet me. Got there, got out of the train station, and there was no one to meet me. I did not know a soul in Alberta. I had a pastor's number and name and address, and my friend, um, he wasn't there, but he assured me these people. Well, that's not true. They came and they met me. He assured me that they will, at least house me until I can settle myself. Well, he told me, I'm going to take you to the Y. So he took me to the YWCA. But while I was standing at this road, I remember standing outside the bus terminal, the train station, sorry, waiting for them. I didn't know who they were, but they would have known me. I realized it was a pickup area for prostitutes as well. So I had men coming and I'm thinking, what's going on here? I was talking about La La Land. Anyhow, finally, this young man came and he drove me to the Y and dumped me there and left me. So the Y had like a little hostel type of thing. And I remember it was 18 Canadian back then. It was 18 Canadian a night. Now that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but with me that just left everything behind, closed up all my bank accounts, etc. I was able to last a week or so when my money started to run out and I did not know what to do. And the only thing I could remember was the pastor with the phone number. And I went there. It was a basement apartment that has a story all by itself. It was dirty. Whoever lived there, all her hair was in the fridge. All her hair was in the chair. Her hair was everywhere. So you open the fridge and there's hair. Don't ask me how your hair get in the fridge, but there's hair. But you know what? It was like a 5-star hotel to me coming out of the Y. I made it a home. I stayed there for a while and I visited their church for a little while. In the meantime, one day I'm walking down the road and I'm saying, God, I need a job. I ain't got no money. I ain't got no, and I felt the Lord impressed me to go back to the bank. Now I was now working with, I think it's CIBC at that time, in Toronto. So I went to CIBC thinking they are not going to hire me because I hated the bank. I did it because it was a job, but when I got there and I told them, I'm here, they hired me on the spot. So I had a job. I was able to pay rent. Now, eventually, oh, my stories is unreal. So I'm working in the bank. My life, this is now a turning point. This is now a juncture. I'm working in the bank and I'm saying, God, I need to meet people. I need, I'm in this 1-bedroom apartment. Don't know anybody except a few in the church. And I was usually always the only Black person. I'm in the bank, I'm working, and then I'm talking to the Lord, I need to meet people. I need a family. I needed this, I needed that. And this one lady used to come every week to me with her deposit from a restaurant around the corner. It was called the Spaghetti Factory because all they served was pasta. And the Lord said, clearly ask her for a job. I said, I can't do waitressing. I can't do nothing. I can't ask her for a job. And my mouth opened and the words came out. Are you hiring? And I went, who said that? She said, you ever worked in a restaurant before? I said, no. She said, okay, good, come. She told me to come after work or whatever it was. And I went, I got hired on the spot. So I had a part-time job with the full-time job. While working in that restaurant, there was a young man, mind you, I'm always the only Black. There was a young man that caught my eye, not in any way. And I just felt something in my spirit towards him. And, he'd always be cussing like a sailor, cussing like can't stop. And one day I said to him, you need to stop cursing. He went, you're a Christian, aren't you? I said, yes. He said, I knew it. I want you to come and meet my family. I want you to come and meet my family. And with that, he invited me to meet his family. And the long story short, I was joined to a family and I had people. I was able to move out from the basement apartment and was able to join with a family. And from that family, well, long story, I met my husband.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. God just has a way of bringing it all together,
All to get all the
all
pieces,
together. If you
all
were
the
obedient and you
broken.
did not move when God said to move, you would have missed that. You would have missed that part. So begin to tell us now how you were able then to meet your knight in shining armor. Now, when you got there and he
Prince
introduced you.
Charming.
Yes, he introduced
Is
you
in
to
my
his
book called, the
family.
chapter is called Prince Charming. Well,
Yeah.
while I'm there now in a new church, a new family and everything, lovely family, they introduced me to a neighbor down the street who wanted a renter or roommate. She was an old elderly lady, but she wanted someone to stay with her. And she had this lovely bedroom and a huge basement. God has a thing with basements with me. So I used to go to the basement. It was my place of retreat. I would sew and make all my clothes because that's what I used to do. And I don't want to take the time to tell you how I left and how I transitioned to this new church. But when I got to this No, that's not true. When I went to this Baptist church, all the family was in, and one of her sons had just married a girl from out of the province, in another province, and she came to, she relocated there. And when she met me, we had the same name, so we had this in common. Every Sunday, Linda would say to me, I have this man for you. I have this fellow, you will like him. Where is he? In Barbados. I said, okay, you're not talking to me. Every Sunday, God said, you will like him. I said, I am not interested. He's in Barbados. I have no affinity to Barbados. I have no family here. I don't know anybody. Why would I want to leave Canada or to hook up? I said, are you crazy? Never stop. And I thought, this girl's not going to stop. So in order to stop her, I said, all right, I will write him. Back then those were the days of pen pals. You didn't have email and all that stuff. And I was used to doing that. I love to write, so I used to have pen pals. So sure enough, she gave me his address and I said, I will write him. And I know he's not going to answer. But he answered. And I thought, oh God, I'm not interested, Lord. He's in Barbados. I don't know nothing about this country. By that time, I have a quote unquote fella I'm going out with, backsliding, by the way. And anyhow, long story short, we kept on communicating, talking about the Lord. No love, nothing, just communicating, talking about the Lord. But for the most part, was letters. We just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And that went on for about 2 years or so. So, obviously she didn't bother me anymore because, I'm writing this fella. And I thought this thing will just peter out. It's not going to go anywhere and I'll be fine with that. But it didn't until I went to a wedding one day of friends of ours and in that church. And I remember having the strangest feeling. And one of my good friends who ended up being my maid of honor, she said to me, are you ready? Are you getting ready? Because yours is next. I thought, what? I mean, I ain't got a man. We are just friends. And I thought, this girl is crazy. But I respected her because she was prophetic. I dismissed it and I went along my happy way until one day God says, I want you to go and meet this man. I want you to go and meet him. I need to put a face to him, Well, I had pictures in it, one little picture. I thought, okay, I'm up for an adventure anyhow. I'm adventurous. Who gets on a train and leave your life behind and move to another province with a couple suitcases? I thought, sure, no problem. I wrote him. I said, I'd like to come to Barbados if you don't mind, and would you and your family be willing to put up with me too, put me out. And he asked his mom. He said it was all right, and so I got an invitation to come, and I was able to stay with him and his family in the family house. And we had fun. We went around the island. We, fun things. I was having a ball until I got on the plane and got home. And I thought, what happened? I felt like I left a piece of my heart back here. And I thought, God, you don't play fair. You just don't play. What happened? I just met the man. How do I feel like piece of my heart was back here? And that's how God tricked me. And so he's here and I'm there and we still writing and everything. So the letters obviously started to shift the tone of the letters. And eventually he started being more, quote unquote romantic. And I thought, yeah, okay. But I'm divorced. And that was a big thing for him. And my Lord said to me at one point, when this man comes and asks you to marry him and you're not ready, it's your fault. I said, God, are you crazy? Crazy stuff happened, right? Started to happen. Well, before all that, when I realized that this is the man, I started to have dreams and clarity. And then One day he said to me, I need you to put him on the altar like Abraham put Isaac. I said, wait a minute. I struggled to come to terms with being single. And now that I'm single, you told me I'm getting married. And now that I'm getting married, you want me to put him on the altar. I said, make up your mind. So, I mean, we had that kind of a relationship. I said, make up your mind. What do you want? And I struggled, and I eventually released him. Then I said, fine. I got the date, I knew the month, I knew everything. He didn't ask me to marry him yet. Fine, I got my bridesmaid, start a planned wedding without a marriage proposal. Finally, he came, he said to me, I'm coming up. By the way, I'm coming up to see my friend, blah, 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 and I'm coming up in August. I said, oh, good. I said, Lord, you told me September, he coming in August. He called me back. He said, oh, I can't come in August anymore because I have some stuff of work to get done. I'll come in September. He came to, now there's lots in between, but I can only tell you in pre-scene. He came the 10th of September or somewhere in there. No, he came somewhere in there, right? Because I remember it was 19 days after that I had to plan the wedding. The wedding came together. So he came, we went to the same young lady's Bible study, the one who said to me, the next one will be mine. She sat him down and asked and talked to him. Unknown to me, God was working on his heart all along. He just never said anything to me. So when he came, he was ready to propose. And he proposed. We didn't have a ring or anything, I don't think. And I said, fine. And in 2 days, he was back on the plane and back home. So, well, wedding is the 29th of September, and he came up just in time for the wedding. All the people in my church came around, supported, planned, helped me with everything, the food, the thing. My wedding dress is already planned. I made it. I fixed, all this about everything. It was a simple late and all my bridesmaids were in place because God had already witnessed to all of them. The only person that was late was him. So that was the story.
Wow.
And November 1st, 1984, I moved to Barbados. So this year will be 40 years.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's just amazing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow, what listen, I was not expecting that as part of the story. I was not expecting that. But that's just
You were, you weren't
and
expecting, sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was not expecting that as part of your story. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful. That's beautiful. You see, when God's in the mix, it would always work out, and it always comes to a point where it blows your mind, how God
It
told
does.
you, everybody knew. I mean, ladies, if you're watching and you're in that waiting season, this is a huge encouragement that God can find him and get him to you, and everything can work out. For Dr. Linda, it was 19 days. 19 days, and it happened, and he was in a whole nother country, millions of miles away, and that did not stop God from bringing them together. So it's still possible. So now you got married, so you said you moved down to Barbados and you started your life with your husband. Tell us about some of the highlights that you would have experienced. I know we're coming close to an end, but I would like you to share some of the highlights that of when you made that move.
Well, I don't know if the good highlight of, because my trials didn't end, it just continued. The good highlight of that move was that I had a man that loved me, that supported me 100%, loved the ground I walked on, that stayed in my corner. Because when I came here to Barbados, I faced another level of opposition that was unfathomable. His brother didn't like me. He called me an adulteress because I was married. He made my life a living hell. I came in a church, I came in a culture that I did not understand. So though I am a West Indian Trinidadian, I learned quickly that Barbadians are a total different breed. And I live with a lot of rejection and in the church, like, who do you think you are? And how come you come to take our man? And now, mind you, I was already a very wounded bird with a broken wing and a lot of stuff. And I came with all my stuff. I came with all my stuff. I came with all my stuff. I don't know how he put up with me in it. He had to be God because I had so much stuff, a truckload of stuff. But God used him to just love me into wholeness bit by bit. I'm still in a process of healing because there's a whole nother world of story that, we don't have time to go into, of living here and what I went through. Not in my marriage to him, but with everything else around. And losing 4 babies was not an easy experience. One survived. One one was ectopic and I would have died, and I did not know. It's a good thing I had a doctor that was persistent because I wanted to come home and pray about it. He said, get yourself to the hospital. By the time I got there, my tubes, I think it didn't, yeah, partially ruptured, so he was able to repair it. So that one was, and I did not know I was pregnant because, well, I suspected I was pregnant. It was the very last one. And my daughter used to jump on me and play, and she jumped on me, and I knew something shifted, something happened, and went to the doctor, and so that one was a tubal pregnancy. It was not ordinary. So it's a good thing she jumped on me, because if she didn't jump on me, I was keeping it quiet. So that would have ruptured and killed me, because that's what happens, right? So when she jumped on me, she must have, whatever happened, forced me to go to the doctor the next day. I must have bled or something. So I was forced to go to the doctor. If not, I would have just kept on figuring I'm pregnant, normal, and just let it go. So, yeah, it's much,
Wow, wow,
but
wow,
God,
wow.
but God.
But
Yeah.
God, that's
Okay.
just amazing. What I love about your story, even though it might have felt like in moments as you went through, like God was not there and nothing was happening, He was always there.
He was
He
always.
was always there to give the strength to build you up. Because you see, when you had to take care of that household, God was preparing for marriage at a young age. So you would know what to do when you get married. You would know how to deal with a house. And sometimes I know we don't always put it all together, but there's always a method to the madness. We don't understand. That's what he says is his plans and not our plans. Some of the things, yes, he might not necessarily have planned, because we know the enemy will be our opposer. That's the opposition. But he always turns it around for our good. He always does that. So I just really want to thank you for being so transparent and open tonight and sharing your testimony with us, because it really lifts my spirits, and I know it's lifting another woman who is watching tonight. So Lilies, if you have not shared this link as yet, then what are you waiting for? Go right ahead and share this link. Share, and get your friends on the line, because I am sure that something that's being said can really empower them. So back to you now, Dr. Nina, before we wrap up. You said in the beginning about all these things you're doing. You're doing ministry, you have your business, you're entrepreneur, you have your books, you're doing all this stuff. So tell us what's up next for you. What are some of the things that you're doing right now that you would like to share with us, so that those persons who are watching and are interested in following and getting to learn more about you can know where and what is happening?
Well, I used to be a pastor of a full-time ministry where we met in my home. I had a room specially built for that. But in uh, around 2016 or a little bit later, the Lord The Lord dealt with that because he's been talking to me all along that he wanted me out of the four walls, but I was comfortable and it was safe. But by faith, I started to step out and spend a ton of, as a Bajan will say, a mug ton of money on coaches and this and that, because I didn't know some took advantage, of someone they knew didn't know anything. But I kept on persevering. One of the strengths of my life that has kept me alive is its resilience and tenacity. I just know how to keep on taking a licking and keep on ticking. And so I kept pressing through with it because I knew it was God. And so I built an online ministry. Um, my ministry is called Linda P. Jones Ministries, but the offshoot from that is Women of Worth, which is a ministry I started in my home about 2005, I think it was. So Women of Worth, I've built an academy, Women of Worth Mentorship Academy. And in those courses are a result of my own life experiences as God taught me through the word. I'm a word woman. I love the word, and everything I build has been built solidly on the word of God. And so my gifting is a teacher of the word. So those courses are built on a framework called HERS, HERS. Hope, H is for the hope and healing, because when you come in, you need hope, you need healing. So I have courses in that module um, designed specifically for those. Then E is equipping, because that's what we want to start equipping, which is to set in order, restoring, R for restoring. So there are courses in there for restoring um, God's restoration program, for example, is a one-part, two-part teaching on the areas in our lives that God restores. And then there's S for serving, because when it's all said and done, we want to go out to serve, because with all the crap I've been through, now I'm in the serving mode, if you know what I'm saying. I'm not in the healing as much as I was then, because I couldn't do this if I was a broken down. And some of us, that's a mistake we make. We want to jump into ministry, but we don't want to go through the process of being healed and being trained and being taught. And I did all that I knew to do, as that, including getting my doctorate. And that took me a lot of time. In between, I had to stop so many times because there was so much happening in my life, but I was intent on following what the Lord wanted me to do. So I have an online, if you go lindapjones.org, you can find everything that I do. I do a free Monday devotions for, if you sign up, you get a Monday devotion every Monday morning. It's fresh word from the Lord. I have free resources online as well, those courses. And another new book is coming up, Journey to a Divine Encounter. That's coming out next
Okay.
month. Yeah.
Okay.
And Soul Survivor is my autobiography. So
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And tell us where we can find you on social media. What are your handles on Facebook and
Linda P.
Instagram?
Jones, Linda P. Jones. You'll find me on Linda P. Jones, and Linda P. Jones Ministries is my page, but Linda P. Jones is my profile. You'll find many Linda P. Jones, but only one face like mine. And and lindapjones.org, right? You will find me on my website. And from there, you can always catch me up on LinkedIn or Instagram, which I need to do a whole lot more, but can't keep up with everything. I need a team.
Indeed, indeed. And that will come very soon. Listen, guys, this has just been amazing. You know what? I love your tenacity. I love your level of resilience. You just keep going and you get the job done. You don't spend that much time complaining, and that's a beautiful thing. Not many persons can do that, to be able to, okay, you get something thrown at you and you just pick it up and you just move with it. And that's something that, that's one of the things that I love about your story. You just move with it. I hope you guys have been encouraged, because I surely have. And again, if you did not share this live, then go right ahead, share, and make sure you are commenting below, because we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear what you thought about this powerful story here tonight. So before we go, I have two questions to ask. And the first question is, based on everything that you would have been through, based on what you shared here tonight, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Oh my goodness. because the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. But even though I wasn't walking that good, the steps were ordered because he had destiny for me. But really and truly, seeing the outcome, I wouldn't necessarily want to change anything. The heartache, you don't want that, the rejection and on and on. You don't want that. But you know what? It has made me, someone can come to me and tell me any story from any angle, for any experience, and I can say, I know, I understand, been there, done that. Being beaten, I know, been there, done that. Been with a married man, I know, been there, done that. You name it, been there, done that. And so I can identify with, but the beautiful part is that even though I'm sharing all these stories, I'm sharing it kind of like I'm talking about somebody else, because it almost doesn't seem like it's me anymore. I don't really, I relate, but I don't relate because it's somebody else. And it's not denial or ignoring it. It's just that who I am today is not the woman that all the stories I told you about.
Yes, yes, beautiful, beautiful. And then finally, before we go, I want you to talk to that woman right now who is watching. She's hearing your story. She definitely can relate. She can connect. A lot of the things that you shared here tonight, she's like, oh my goodness, that's me. What would be your words of encouragement to her?
Don't give up in the process, because God has, he has. I am in a process right now with something else. And I have to remember, don't give up in the process. As someone said to me a couple of days ago, she said, Dr. Linda, there's light at the end of this tunnel. And there's light. If my past is an indication that there's light at the end of the tunnel, then there's light at the same God that brought me through to sanity. I always tell people, like, we should either be in jail, I should either be 6 feet under, I should either be dead or insane for what I walked through. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, and if you don't give up, sometimes I had to crawl on my hands and knees. But if you have to do that, do it. Whatever you have to do to keep on doing it, do it. If you have to connect with some friends and bawl your head off and talk and talk and talk, because I did a lot of talking. They all sung like the Book of Lamentations, but I didn't care. I just put all the pain in it, on and on and on and on. I had to find a release. That's how I was able to write my story, because I had documented so many things. I had the dates and times and places already done. So don't give up. Whatever you have to do to keep on going, get the help, get friends, write, scream, bawl, roll on the floor. I did all of that. Do it, but just don't stop.
Well said, well said. So, guys, you have heard it from right here from our lovely, powerful guest tonight, Dr. Linda P. Jones. She has shared her powerful story with you. I pray and hope that something that she said has resonated with you and it has left you with that inner peace, give you some form of peace and encouragement. You feel motivated and inspired to continue to press on and know that you too can overcome just like she has. So if you did not share this link, I want you to go ahead right now and share the link with a friend and make sure that they are able to access this live as well. So we're going to see you back here once again as we continue this series of Battered Bruised, Not Broken. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.